All right, started.
Okay, so hello and welcome. Today's December 1st. This is the volume Populators Kubernetes SIG storage community meeting. I canceled the last two of these meetings, and I have not gotten a ton of work on this done over the month of November because I was distracted with other things, but I finished all the other things and I am back to working on this now. And I'm working on converting my data populator's webhook code into a controller. So I'll be pushing a PR for that relatively soon. The main thing I wanted to ask about or discuss is who else was interested in doing actual implementation or code reviews, because some people had expressed in earlier meetings the desire to help with this, and I just wanted to know who I should be interacting with if there's anyone who wants to be more closely involved.
Help with code reviews.
You'll help, Shane?
I can help with code reviews.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Yeah, is there anyone who wanted to do any of the implementation work?
Hi, Ben. I think I can help on some implementation because I have some kind of similar code before to do in this kind of populator. So we can think up offline, I guess.
Okay, thanks, Elliot. That's helpful. Okay. So Elliot might help with the coding, Xing for code review. Any other people that want to contribute?
Yeah, you can sign me up for code reviews as well.
Okay. Okay, awesome. All right, so the plan of record is to produce a patch against the external provisioner repo with a new CRD that represents the actual populator CRD, and there will be a new controller that will look, well, it won't look like, but it'll be conceptually similar to this snapshot controller that we have in the external snapshotter repo, where it'll be a singleton that would be installed in the cluster and not with each CSI plugin. So there would be a new sort of group CRD and controller that we would be asking deployers to include with their Kubernetes deployments to support data populators. And then if we can get that, and that code might remain part of the external provisioner repo, or it might end up in another repo. But that's sort of the easiest way for me to get started and get the prototype done. And we even discussed the possibility of somehow putting it in tree, but I don't know who to have that discussion with. Or if it would make sense to move from like the external provisioners repo to in tree as like to have it as a staging area. So that's still something that's TBD, but for the purpose of the prototype, I'm just doing it in this repo.
Prototype in the external provisioner repo, or are you starting a new one? I forgot what was decided last time.
I'm doing it in external provisioner.
Oh.
That's where the webhook prototype was.
Okay.
And
doing
it here is going to be easier. Like if
or just a central controller, I forgot.
It's just going to be a central controller
Okay.
that will look at new PVCs and look at the data source field and generate events for PVCs that have data sources that look like they're not going to ever bind because there's no populator for them. That's the idea.
Okay.
And then actual implementations of populators will be, up to developers to put in their own repos. The other piece of this is after I have the controller working and the CRD working, I am going to go back and redo the example populator, and I'm going to try to refactor it into a reusable library that all populators can use, and then a sample of a really simple populator that does something dumb but shows how to use the library. And then once I have that, I'll be looking for a home for that library so that we can get other populators using it. And as we discussed, I guess it was 3 weeks ago at this point, there is interest in turning that library into a sidecar eventually. But I think that's going to be kind of a heavy lift. So I'm not really thinking in detail about that right now. Right now, my goal is to get the CRD and the central controller done,
So should
and
that be
then work
under
on
Kubernetes
refactoring the
CSI?
sample.
Would that be under Kubernetes CSI org or Kubernetes
Yeah,
6?
well, for now, it's just in the external Populator repo. If we do decide it has to be a separate repo, yeah, I would want to put it under Kubernetes CSI.
Okay.
I mean, it's going to have all the same problems that the snapshot controller has in terms of, you know, deployers have to install it and get those CRDs into their cluster somehow.
Yeah.
And it's not an in-tree thing, at least as it's currently envisioned. So I hope that there is work being done on making that problem more tractable in general, because I think we're just going to have more and more of these sort of out-of-tree CRDs and out-of-tree controllers that we're going to want to be available. And things are going to depend on them, you know, like data populators are going to depend on this controller being there so they can register the kind of, you know, that the populator understands, and so that users can get feedback on, you know, when the populator is not there. So yeah, that's sort of a meta problem that I'm not spending energy on solving.
Yeah, I thought someone started working on that, but I don't know what progress that is.
Well, where it's most acute is with the snapshot controller right now and the snapshot CRDs, right? Because we saw that some Kubernetes 117 distros went out without snapshot support, and but the snapshot feature is beta, and so the feature gate gets flipped on. But if the CRD isn't there, you're sort of out of luck. And I don't know who's working on helping Kubernetes distros sort of know that they have work to do when things like the snapshot controller get released.
Feature gate
Because this will,
actually only prevent you from create volume from snapshot. You can always create snapshot even without the feature gate on.
No, if you don't have the
If you don't, because the snapshot creating snapshot itself is not controlled by any entry code, so that's not really.
But there's a
provision.
there's the PVC snapshot data source feature
Yeah,
gate.
that one is. Yeah, I'm just saying when you create volume.
But what happened is that was switched from alpha to beta in 117.
Right.
So if you're in 116, you couldn't specify a snapshot because the admission controller would just zero out that field when you try to put a snapshot in there. In 117 you can, but if the CRD doesn't exist, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so that's the problem that users face, is that, like, well, it's 117, so they expect to be able to use snapshots, but if the CRD isn't installed on their particular distro, then any attempt to create a snapshot is going to fail with, you know, unknown type or whatever. And yeah, we have to find a way to sort of get distros on the same page with this stuff. Otherwise, like, all the new storage features are just going to be released, you know, sort of here and there, hit or miss, and
and not just
the landscape is going to be a mess.
Other SIGs should be affected as well.
Yeah. I mean, ever since they took the stance that we're going to do things out of tree, like, they created this new problem.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the solution is, but I'm just, I guess, pointing to it as somebody better solve that, because I'm not working on it. And we're going to have the same.
This is way higher than just SIG store. This is like SIG architecture needs to come up with an answer here. I think the reason we hit it with volume snapshots is because volume snapshots was the first kind of major feature to go through this.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's going to be a ton more features that are going to hit this, and it's a good
populators included.
Right. Because effectively what it means is you used to be able to depend on a given Kubernetes version to figure out whether a feature was available or not. And distributors depended on that, users depended on that, and third-party components dependent on that. But now there's kind of that's just the minimum bar. In addition to the Kubernetes version, you need to figure out whether the CRD is installed on that particular instance, and that's much more complicated. So yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah, so I'm just pointing to I am not addressing that. I assume someone will figure that out, and then this will ride that boat to success.
Yeah, completely agreed.
So yeah, so that's sort of the status update, is that I'm back to actively working on this. It was really slow going through the month of November, but I should have more status to update next week, and I will reach out to Elliot, and I'll put Xing and Saad as my code reviewers. Thank you for volunteering.
Cool.
That's all I have today. Anyone want to mention anything else? All right. Thank you. I'll give you your 45 minutes back.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.